It was 8 o'clock in California, 11 at night on the East Coast, and Hal and I were about to finish a sushi dinner. And at that dinner, a respected mathematician I know mentioned, in the way you would mention the weather, that his AI agent was building something on my laptop right then while we were eating.
Kim, but your laptop was in the hotel room.
I know, right? So I get back to the room and I open it, and nothing looked different. Same desktop, same icon, same everything. No window had opened. Nothing was running that I could see. Not even one of those little spinning circles that tells you, that the computer is thinking. There was no evidence at all that anything was happening, Hal. But somewhere, something miles away was working on my computer, and my screen looked exactly the way it had looked that morning.
And I thought that was the greatest thing that I had ever heard in my life.
I know you did.
Once I found out that they could log into your computer, that was a wrap for me. I was all in.
Same trip, same dinner, same laptop. He came home with a plan. I came home with a question. I'm Kim,
I'm Hal,
and this is Small Business Big AI.
the podcast for business owners who are done treating AI like a toy and are ready to use it as a strategic leverage, building a technology-enabled superpower.
And this is episode 100, y'all.
100.
But we are not going to spend the next half hour congratulating ourselves.
Thank goodness.
Okay, honey. But today is about what actually happens to a person when the technology shows up faster than their understanding of it.
And what you do first when it does.
Yes, so if you have ever sat in a room or on a webinar, or maybe even across from somebody 20 years younger than you and felt like everybody understood something that you did not, well, follow or subscribe wherever you listen, because what comes next may be the most honest conversation we've ever had.
This is an episode I would have wanted someone to give me 2 weeks ago.
So for 99 episodes, I have been speaking into this microphone, telling business owners some version of the same thing.
Own your knowledge. Own your context.
Yes, and build the engine that understands your business. Stop renting from disconnected software companies. Get the knowledge out of your head and into a system.
So we got on a plane.
Yeah, to walk the talk, to go do it myself. 3 days in Venice Beach, California, in a place called the Ken, with a group of people who build this for a living. So in episode 97, we talked about the archivists and the danger of founder knowledge that cannot get on the plane. Now, I owe you a correction before we go one sentence further, okay? Because in episode 98, I said very confidently, everything I just described, I'm about to go build it myself.
Actually, you said something even more specific.
Yeah, Hal, I did, and I said it on air. And I said that this title was going to be We Flew to California to Build a Business That Replaces Our Software.
That's really a good title.
Yeah, it is a good title, but it is also not true, because that title promises you a woman who went out there, built the thing, and came home holding it up like a little trophy.
And that is not what happened.
No. So last week on this show, I told you that when it comes to AI, discovery is not the threat. Hiding is. So I am not going to spend episode 100 hiding.
Well, now I want to hear it.
But, honey, you were there.
I was there for a different trip than yours.
Oh my gosh, we were there in the same room for the same reason.
I walked into that room and I did not look at a single screen.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I looked at the room. It was an open space, computers everywhere, people clustered in little groups, 3 here, 4 there, each one having to work on something different. There was a hum to it. And I have been in a lot of buildings in my life, dealerships, service drives, back offices. You can tell in about 90 seconds whether a place is actually producing something or whether everybody is just performing. That room was producing. I could feel it walking in.
And I walked into that same room and I thought, oh my God, I hope somebody explains what the heck is happening here.
See, same room, different trip.
So Hal and I spent the same 3 days in the same room, listening to the same people and watching the same demonstrations. But we did not experience the same trip.
Not even close.
We went to California to meet our friend Stanley Bishop,
My man, Science Stanley.
a famous mathematician and project manager on several world-changing endeavors related to curing rare diseases, fixing our oceans and clean water, educating our youth to prepare them for this new world that they are about to enter. And here's the honest version of the first day coming from me. So Stanley has been helping us think through what it would mean to create an AI native operating system for Lewis Howard Insurance Group.
An AI solution for regulated and sensitive businesses like insurance, medical, and financial.
So I went out there to build an operating engine for the insurance agency, and that was the stated purpose. That was what was on the calendar. So day one, it really was about 3 hours of philosophy and demonstration.
Which you did not love.
No, but I did not hate it. I just kept waiting for the part where we started building my thing.
That is the difference between you and me right there. I was not waiting for anything. I was learning the ecosystem.
Yeah, because you did not fly out there with a deadline in your pocket.
No, but you got to understand what you are standing in before you start moving furniture around.
And that is fair, but it is also uncomfortable when you have a list in your head that does not get shorter.
The place had a certain feel. It kind of reminded me of my old office.
You mean at the dealership?
Like I said, there was an energy in the room.
There were two engineers working on my laptop, honey, Jake and McCoy, and I sat there and watched them work on my machine. I was trying to keep up with words like context graphs, nodes, agents, front matter, and network architecture.
I could not follow any of it
You were not even trying to.
intentionally because I was watching them and I knew what I was looking for.
Okay, well, explain.
Jake is already there. Whatever Stanley is, Jake is that right now, today. And the two of them working together, that's a serious team.
Now, did you hear what he just did?
Wow.
Well, I asked you what it looked like watching them work on my laptop, and you did not describe the work at all. You scouted them.
Well, yeah, that's what I do.
I was watching the screen. You were watching the people.
The screen was never going to tell me anything. I do not read code. I read rooms and I read people. That is what I'm good at. We're all there to solve real problems. Could they work together? Did they understand the business? And did I believe they could build something that mattered? That's my lens.
Yeah, and that sentence may explain 30 years of our marriage.
That is not a small thing to be good at. It is the whole business. 30 years of running things. Most of the people in the room have never run a business. Brilliant, every one of them, but they have not made payroll. I have. That is the only real advantage that I have. I've been there, I've done that. That is the real thing. Because I know what it costs to be wrong. So when I'm looking at two engineers, I'm not grading them on their code. I'm asking whether I'll put them, either one of them, in front of a customer and whether they finish what they started.
And
Both of them, yes.
and that matters because by the time our plane landed back in Florida, Hal believed we had seen the future.
You, on the other hand, were still trying to understand what you had seen on your laptop.
Okay, true. So sometimes you enter a room thinking you are about to build the solution. Then you discover that the people in the room are still teaching you how to see the problem. Now, I want to give the operator listening two ideas from those 3 days. And then I want to get out of the way because really, this episode is not a product tour. So the first one is called context rot.
Context rot.
Right. When you push more information into one of these systems than it can hold at once, it does not tell you. It just quietly starts losing the thread. It stops connecting things that should be connected, and the quality it deteriorates. It forgets what matters.
That part, I understood.
And naturally, because people do the same thing.
I've done that to a person. I have handed somebody 11 things on a Tuesday and then wondered on Thursday why two of them fell on the floor. That was not a technology problem.
No, you're right. It was not. It was not a technology problem. Now, the second idea is a thing called front matter. And this is the one I keep thinking about. Now, front matter is a little block of information that sits at the top of a file, like who made it, when, what it connects to, what category it belongs to, like a library card. Now, you do not need to read it because the machine reads it. And it is the reason the machine can walk from one thing to the next without getting lost.
And that is the part that has been around forever.
Yeah, that is exactly the part. People were keeping those little cards by hand for years. Hobbyists, I mean, long before any of this technology existed. It was the unglamorous chore that nobody thought mattered, and it turned out to be the foundation.
The boring thing was the important thing. That is every business I have ever run. Everybody wants the beautiful showroom. Nobody wants to count the parts in the warehouse.
Or write down what the service manager actually does.
Correct.
And there is one more number from that trip. One more I want to talk about, Hal.
The one that made both of us sit up and listen.
Right. So somebody in that room said that one of these systems, configured properly, does work that would otherwise take a team of 10 to 15 people about 3 months.
That was big.
And yeah, that was the moment that I looked at you and I thought, oh no, he's gone.
Gone where?
Well, into operator imagination land. I could see it happening. I mean, your eyes change.
Replace the work of 10 to 15 people and 3 months? We're talking about one system. I started imagining what that really meant, not just what it could do today, but what it could become.
And I want to be careful here because that was a claim made in a room by people who build these for a living. It is not a number I have independently verified. So take it as what they believe, not as gospel.
But cut it in half, cut it in a quarter. Then everybody listening to this is either competing against something they cannot see or working on something they have not picked up yet.
Those are the two options, Hal. There is not a third one.
Also true.
Okay, so tell them the truth about how much of it you really followed.
I didn't understand anything. I just kept going with it. I sat in that room for 3 days and could not have explained to you how one piece of it actually worked. Not one. Because they put up a visual on the screen at one point, and I looked at it and I decided those shapes were nodes, a network, points connected to another point. And once I decided that, I could see us in Orlando sitting there on the network. I could see how what we know is different from what they know, and how the differences would bounce around and get checked and come back. I do not know if that is right. I still do not know if it's right.
But it is close enough to be useful.
That is all it needed to be.
And that is worth stopping on for a second. So, for anybody listening who has ever been sitting in a webinar feeling kind of stupid, you do not have to understand the mechanism. You have to understand the shape.
And there was one thing I understood that you did not.
Oh no, here we go.
Compliance being the big one.
Oh, I wouldn't really say that is true.
You were sitting there thinking about what the system could build for you. I was sitting there thinking, this thing is going to think about things she is not even thinking about.
Okay, and compliance is a critical piece.
And that's not a criticism. That's the whole argument.
Okay, so let me ask you something. So 35-year-old Hal at the dealership, put him in that room in Venice Beach. What does he say?
Nothing.
Nothing?
He would not have known what to say because he would not have understood a word, not a word of it. He would have sat there quiet and waited to get out of the building.
I can see that. And so the Hal sitting next to me now
Sees nothing but upside because now I have run a business. I know where the money leaks out of a company. I know 45 minutes of somebody's day is pure waste. The 35-year-old me would not have known what's the point to this. But now I do.
So the experience is the asset.
The experience is always the asset. This just makes it worth more.
Every hour of the day already has a claim on it. I was not sitting in California as a curious hobbyist. I was sitting there as an operator, an owner, thinking, how does this help me run my business? And let's be honest, how does this help me make money? So let us go back to that hotel room.
Tell it in order this time.
Okay, so at dinner, Stanley mentions that his agent is building something on my machine. I mean, right now, while we are sitting there with our lobster rolls and wasabi in front of us.
Not his laptop, her laptop that was sitting back in the hotel room.
Yeah, so I get back to the room, I open the laptop, and there is nothing. And I want to be very clear about why, because the explanation turns out really to be completely ordinary. The work was happening inside a Linux environment, and Windows does not show you that. There was never going to be a window. So it was not broken. It was not a trick. Nothing was wrong. It was just invisible. And I sat there on the end of a hotel bed at 11 o'clock at night, looking at a screen that had not changed. And the only thought I had was, what the heck just happened?
And once I found out they could log into your computer, that was a wrap.
That was it for you?
That was it. That was the proof. Everybody talks about this stuff. Everybody has a slide. But somebody sitting in California can reach across the country and do work on your machine while we're eating dinner? They do not have to be sitting in our office? We do not have to build some giant technology department in Lake Nona? People in ages could work across distance? That is not a slide. That is real. And to me, that proved the concept. And the second I understood that was possible, I stopped asking whether this was going to work. It already is.
And I looked at the same fact and could not breathe.
Can I say the thing I have been saying to you all week?
Well, you're gonna do it anyway.
You still think you have to do it. You are sitting there trying to figure it out. How are you going to learn it all, understand it all, build it all? And you cannot. Nobody can. You do not have one person working on this. There are thousands of them, and they are all making it better every single day. This is the worst that is ever going to be. Right now, today, this is the worst version of it that you will ever touch. You cannot compete against that. You are not supposed to. You are supposed to use it. That is what you are missing.
He is right about the water,
Thank you.
but he is wrong about the order.
There it is.
So when somebody has just gone over the side of the boat and they cannot swim, you do not stand on the deck and explain that swimming is a worthwhile skill. You can be completely right. Swimming is a worthwhile skill. The ocean is survivable. I mean, 1,000 people are out there swimming just fine. But that person, the one swallowing water, is not learning anything right now because they are busy going under. You throw them the life jacket first. You keep them from drowning. And then, when they are floating, they can hear you again. And then you can teach them to swim.
Okay.
And that is where I have been. This is where a lot of you have been. Hal is standing on the deck yelling that the water is amazing. And he's not wrong. It is amazing. It is the most amazing thing either of us has ever seen. But I went over the side, and so did a lot of people listening to this.
So, what is a life jacket?
Well, you already answered that. You just didn't know you were answering it. Now, one more thing from that room, and then I will tell you what the life jacket actually is. At some point during those 3 days, Stanley asked me to be a node. And I said yes, the way you would say yes to something that you have not understood yet.
And that was the biggest thing that happened to you out there? And you walked right past it?
Okay, well, explain what you think it meant.
It meant you are not standing in line waiting to find out what the future is going to be. You helped shape the future. That is what I've been telling you since day one. You cannot reimagine the future if you have no idea what the future could be. You have to be in the room where that is being decided. You were in that room. They asked you to stay in it. And you were so busy worried about your opening date, you did not hear it.
Well, there is something else about that room, Hal, and I have gone back and forth about whether to say it. I was the only woman in there. Hal noticed before I did. He mentioned it to me later, like an observation about the weather. And I remember thinking, well, of course, this has been true my whole career. It was true at my first agency. It was true in a boardroom at a bank where I was one of two. And there's a part I want anybody who has ever been the only one in the room to hear. In a transcript of that trip, the work of setting these systems up gets described as half engineering and half curriculum design, teaching a machine how to learn a subject. And I am named in that transcript as the person in the room who does that for a living.
Which is what I've been trying to tell you.
So 3 things were true at the same time in that room. I was the only woman in it. I was the scarcest skill in it. And I felt lost in it. If you take one thing out of episode 100, take that one. The feeling of being behind is not evidence that you are. AI is moving so quickly that many business owners feel like they have been thrown into an ocean. They do not need another speech about transformation. They do not need a list of 30 tools. They need something they can grab, something that gives them enough stability to breathe. Then they can learn. Then they can experiment. Then they can build. That is the order.
But they do have to build.
And I agree with that. So, the life jacket. So, Hal, tell them what you said when I asked you what a guy with a 4-person shop could do about any of this.
Write the job descriptions. That is it. Organize and write down the job description for everybody in the shop. What each person actually does all day. Not the title, not what it says on the org chart, what they actually do. Then you can go from there.
And I want to be careful here because that sounds like a chore. I mean, it sounds like HR paperwork. It sounds like the least exciting sentence anybody has said on this show in 100 episodes.
It is also actually free.
Yes, it is completely free. And it is the whole thing. So go back to episode 97. Remember, we called it the archivist. The idea was that everything that makes your business work is sitting in somebody's head and none of it can get on the plane with you. Well, it cannot get into an agent either. You cannot hand a machine a context graph, a front matter card, a knowledge base, or a system of any kind until somebody has written down what actually happens in your business. And the fastest, cheapest, least technical version of that is a job description.
One page, one person. What do you do all day?
And let me make it smaller than that because somebody listening has already decided that this is too big of a project for them. But it's one page, 4 things on it. What this person touches every single day. What they do once a week and dread. What only they know how to do that nobody else in that building could pick up tomorrow morning. And what they get asked over and over that they wish they never got asked again.
That fourth one is the one.
Right. That 4th one is always the one. That is where the money is. That is your life jacket. It does not require a subscription. It does not require you to understand a single thing about how any of this works. You can start it Monday morning with a legal pad. And when you are floating, when you are not going under anymore, then you can start learning to swim. Then you can find the tools.
You may not ever fly to Venice Beach. You may never sit in a room with engineers and world-class mathematicians building agents on your computer. You may not need to, but you can begin to prepare your business for what is coming.
And I want to tell you how this ended for me, because it did end. I came home to Lake Nona and I sat down and I made up a list of what had actually happened. Not what I felt about it, but what happened, what got installed, what got said, what was real and what was still open. And about halfway down the page, I said out loud, really to nobody, "This is becoming much more clear. The fog did not lift because I learned anything new. It lifted because I took inventory."
That is the whole thing right there.
That is the whole thing. And it is available to every single person listening today for nothing.
And I will say my part again because I mean it. This is the worst that it's ever going to be. Whatever you're looking at right now, whatever feels like too much, this is the most difficult that it's ever going to be. It gets easier from here. It does not get harder.
And that's coming from the man who understood none of it.
And I still got on the plane.
We are not just talking about this. We are about to live it. Lewis Howard Insurance Group opens in Lake Nona, Florida, built to use AI as part of how the work actually gets done in an industry where the information is personal, financial, and regulated. Everything we just described, including the compliance piece, is a real problem on a real calendar for us. If you want to watch what this looks like in a regulated business, go to AskLewisHoward.com. That is AskLewisHoward.com. 99 episodes of telling business owners to build the thing. One episode about what it actually felt like to try. That feels like an honest way to mark 100.
And next week, we bring in somebody who does this for other people's companies, and he lives in my home state of North Carolina.
This episode is Here is What I Built. Next week is Here is How You Start. Now that's it for today's episode of Small Business, Big AI. Thanks so much for tuning in.
100 episodes.
100. We did it, Hal.
Yes, we did. And if this one landed, share with one entrepreneur who has been feeling behind. That is all we want for the 100.
And keep building your technology-enabled superpower, one life jacket at a time.
Until next time, keep embracing change, keep innovating, and remember the future of your business is bigger than you think.
And the steps you take today will shape the legacy you build tomorrow. Now, I'm Kim.
I'm Hal, and this has been Small Business, Big AI.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.